Do you want to, do you have time to come in here? Or okay. So hopefully I have sound now. It works better when you turn it on. Actually, I thought I turned it on, but I guess I didn't. So thank you for the comments about sound. So I'm assuming not everyone everyone who watches the live stream is a lip reader. So I'm going to go back over some of the stuff that I mimed out. So I talked a lot about values in the campaign. I talked about how it is important for us to have elected officials who have a system of values and use those values to guide their decisions. And I talked a lot about housing, transportation, and representation. And so we have organized this live stream on Friday afternoon around those topics. So we have prepared a list of things to talk about that pertain to housing, transportation, and representation. I also hope that in addition to telling us that we're miming things to you, that if you have questions about any of the topics that we're talking about or have questions about a different topic, this is really a time for you to have direct access to your council person, and you don't even have to put on pants. So let's talk about housing. So yesterday, the majority of City Council went on a shelter facilities tour. So we went through all of the major facilities in all maybe but one, all the major facilities in the city of Denver that shelter our homeless population. And so we went to 7 different locations. It was really interesting to see the various locations. It was also I think our democracy is better if it's representative of all the people. And so this isn't all about people in wheelchairs, but I do have that perspective. And I think it's interesting that we might have about 14 beds in our shelter system for people who rely on wheelchairs for mobility, as in they can't stand without, or can't move around without the use of a wheelchair, like me. So we have a couple other facilities that are theoretically wheelchair accessible, but the only way they accept people into the facility is by bus, and the only way they will discharge people is also by bus. And the buses that our shelter system use right now do not provide access for people in wheelchairs. So, sweet, we've got some celebratory. My off-camera compadre is here, and she's super excited about, guiding the process through. So, anyway, the council, we will have a retreat in a couple weeks at the end of the month to talk about what are our next steps with homelessness in Denver, and what can we do as a city, and what can we do as a legislative body to address the homelessness in our city. So next, about housing, we have been talking about the East Central Area Plan, but in case you don't know about the East Central Area Plan, it is our guiding document for 6 neighborhoods in the city: Uptown, Capitol Hill, Cheeseman, Congress. Those are the 4 neighborhoods in District 10. There are 2 more neighborhoods in District 9, so City Park and City Park West and City Park. And so the idea is to create this guiding document that tells us, where do we want those neighborhoods to go? What do we want them to look like by 2040? So do you want bike lanes? Do you want to be able to get around by bikes? Do you want more sidewalks? Do you want to close streets to bikes? Do you want to close streets so that no bikes can use them? Or do you want to make sure that we have plenty of parking everywhere for cars, and whatever your thoughts are, what you want the neighborhood to be in the next 1 to 5 years, all the way up to the next 20 years. That's what the East Central Area Plan is designed to do. So it is supposed to be the relationship between government, developers, and neighbors. So here's where we need your help. Government, well, I'm paid to be here, full time. developers, well, it's their day job to make sure that their developments get built. So both the government and developers can be here all day, every day. But the critical piece that we also need is input from our neighbors. And we recognize that you have day jobs, that you might have 2 or 3 jobs. And so we want to make this document as accessible to you as possible so that we can have as much input as possible. Because really, we want input from the neighbors so that we know, so we can tell developers, hey, this is what the neighbors want, or hey, developers, stop building that because that is, or don't build that at all in the first place because that's not what the neighbors want. So it's really important that we get feedback. I asked the Community Planning and Development, the City of Denver office that works on the East Central Area Plan, if we could have more time, and they said yes. So we have until February 5th to provide additional input on the East Central Area Plan. Please comment if you like it, you dislike it, or if you want to talk more theoretical about how you want more cars and you want more parking, or you want more bike lanes or more protected bike lanes. Let us know. If you want to get more engaged, I think we had a meeting on Wednesday and we had about 15 people show up. And the Wednesday meeting was about training people to be a navigator. So basically, someone who could someone who is a resident of the 6 neighborhoods and who could be, spread the good news or spread the knowledge of the East Central Area Plan to other folks in our neighbors. So if you're interested in becoming a navigator, please contact Galia. Please let us know. And the email address, you can email, I think it's down there. Am I doing this right? Yes. Ah, sweet. See, I've got my spatial relationships backwards and correct. So ultimately, City Council will vote on the passage of this plan or not. So let's make sure we get it right. And I really want your input. So moving beyond housing, let's talk about transportation. So earlier this week, we had an update from major stakeholders with the 5280 Trail. If you haven't heard about the 5280 Trail, that is a 5.28 mile loop that goes around the urban core of Denver. So in District 10, it would go through Uptown, Capitol Hill, and Golden Triangle. But the majority of the loop is actually outside of District 10. Like, believe it or not, there's life beyond District 10. Anyway, so the loop goes around the urban core, and I think it's a really, I think it's a bold step for the city. I think it's a bold statement for the city. The point of this 5.28 mile trail is to make sure that people have the freedom to get from A to B safely using non-car transit. So it would have a bike path, it would have pedestrian path, so that you can get around our urban core as a tourist, or as a commuter, or as a form of exercise. And we've got the ghost opening our door again. Hey, ghost. Let's see. So there's a planning document that is, what is it, the design guidelines are going to be completed any minute now. I think it is the first part of 2020 is when it was designed. The design document was designed to be completed. So if you're interested in learning more about the 5280 Trail, certainly you can email us, or you can also Google or use your favorite search engine to just put in the search engine 5280 Trail Denver, and I'm pretty sure the first link will be to the description of the project. We also on Monday night we talked about Denver Botanic Gardens. So the Botanic Gardens, they because of history, I guess, because of things that have been decided in the past. Anytime the Botanic Gardens wants to increase their fees, they have to get approval from City Council. And on Monday night, we discussed the increase in fees. Well, as I mentioned on Monday night, I I actually voted against the increase in fees, not because I don't think the Botanic Gardens are a good organization. In fact, I think they're great. And if you don't know, the Denver Botanic Gardens, they have elevated their stature from a regional resource to a world-class resource. Denver Botanic Gardens employees go all over the world to consult about plants and planting in a sustainable way. And people from all over the world come to lovely Perfect 10 to learn about plants and sustainability. And so the Denver Botanic Gardens are the #1 or #2 most visited gardens in the nation as well. So they're really doing some amazing stuff. But here's where where the increase in fees kind of rubbed me the wrong way. It's so most of the people in District 10 who go to the Botanic Gardens don't drive, but the increase in fee is for everyone, including people who drive or walk or bike. Meanwhile, the Botanic Gardens has a large parking garage that has free parking. And as you may have heard in the news, the Denver Right ran an article saying that the main reason they were raising fees was to pay for the parking structure. So we heard in comment or in the council meeting that the Botanic Gardens believes that was an inaccurate statement. And then there was a back and forth between Denver Right and so they believe that the statement was accurate, but whatever. That's I'm not going to weigh into that necessarily. But I was the sole no vote because, as I talked earlier and have hopefully been consistent, I think that we should have a value system, and I've been pretty clear about how I want to encourage people to get out of their single occupant vehicles. And frankly, our guiding documents say the same thing. Our Comprehensive Plan 2040, Blueprint Denver 2019, they all say that we should prioritize pedestrians over all other forms of transit. So raising fees on people who don't use cars so that people who do use cars get free parking, I don't think that fits in my values, and I don't think that fits in the values of the guiding document. So I voted against it. I was the only one, but sometimes we have to blaze our own trail. So next, B-Cycle. Remember B-Cycle? Well, you don't have to remember for long because they're going away. At the end of the month, the B-Cycle is retiring all of their fleets and all of their stations. Actually, I think the first 2 stations are going away this weekend. And so I'm not sure why they're retiring them already, but that's fine. The bicycles that they've used have been around for 10 years, and technology has improved. The adoption of some sort of bike share has changed a lot in the last 10 years. While B-Cycle, the cycles themselves are going away, the nonprofit that runs the B-Cycle program is sticking around, and they are doing some brainstorming on what they want the next iteration to be. So that might be, an opportunity for us as citizens to comment. I haven't heard yet if they're going to create a stakeholder group, but I'm certainly paying attention to that because I think that there are certainly some people who are really sad that B-Cycle's going away, and being able to go from one dock to another, and B-Cycle is far more cost effective than some of the dockless bikes, particularly with the program that they had over this past year, which was, I think it was, actually you could sign up and you could use the bikes for free. So that's pretty cost effective. So let's see, just a few reminders about dockless etiquette. I think this is important. I think there's been a little bit of confusion about scooters, and the confusion is maybe rightfully so, because the city of Denver has changed the law about scooters 3 times in the last year and a half. And part of that is because, well, the city of Denver didn't know that scooters were coming, and the companies that use these scooters just went and they plopped them down in the city and didn't really tell Denver that these scooters were coming. And so at first they were the state called them toy vehicles. So we had to rely on the state legislature to change the terminology. So we had one law before the toy vehicles law was repealed at the state level, and then the Denver, after the state law with toy vehicles was repealed, we created a second law. And then after I got inaugurated, we actually created a third law. And so here it is today. I totally understand why you might be confused, but current law is that scooters should be on the street or on bike lanes, not on the sidewalk. And we recognize that communication hasn't been perfect, or probably not a whole lot of communication at all. And so we've talked with our dockless partners, our private partners, and we've asked them to be a little more overt in the app and on the scooters themselves. And they say that they're working on it. So hopefully they actually are working on it. But anyway, so just so you know, scooters are supposed to be on the street. And I think that's good because pedestrians, people with mobility impairments, seniors, we should all have the freedom to get from A to B and feel safe while doing it. And I know that I've felt uncomfortable enough with scooters coming my way that I've exited the sidewalk, and I've been stuck a couple times and had to have people unstick me because scooters were on the sidewalk and made me feel uncomfortable, and then made me feel trapped because I was. And then dockless bikes and scooters should be parked in the right-of-way and shouldn't block access. So a great place to park them is in the hell strip. That's in quotes. It's the area between the sidewalk and the street. So I think it's because it's really inviting. That's a place that people love to go, right? Is that what it is?
Nothing can grow there.
Oh, nothing can grow there. Maybe that's what it is. Okay. It is kind of a no person's land, not a no man's land because we're gender neutral, but a no person's land because a lot of people don't realize that even though it's between the sidewalk and the street, it's still the adjacent property owner's responsibility to maintain that area, that hell strip. Anyway, okay, so we've talked about housing, we've talked about transportation. Let's talk about representation. So we've been putting out a monthly newsletter. Since our council district is 10, we're in Perfect 10. We have been releasing them on the 10th of each month. Well, guess what today is? It's Friday, and so we're going to release it tomorrow on the 11th. Wait, that doesn't work. Oh, okay. Or how about we release them later today? So the plan is we're still working on the newsletter right now. We, as in the royal we, are not the royal we, but the actual greater we. There are a couple people working on it as we speak. You and me and the camera. So, but we're aiming to make that bring it out or send it out today. Worst case, it'll be over the weekend. Let's see. Also in representation, we had a presidential candidate come to Denver's Perfect 10 this week. So Mayor Pete Buttigieg was at the Fillmore, and then he had an after party at Cap City Tavern. So that was, I think that's right. So just in Capitol Hill. So from District 10 to District 10. And I'm really excited that we had a presidential candidate again visit District 10. So as you may recall, Bernie Sanders was in he did a rally at the Greek Amphitheater in Civic Center Park, and that was on Monday night. So unfortunately, I was at a city council meeting and couldn't attend, but I would have loved to have seen him there too. Also, we had constituent coffee hours at Metropolis in Golden Triangle this morning. Thank you, all of you who showed up. We had a lively discussion, and I'm really excited to hear more about the positives and negatives. I was going to say the blessings and concerns of what's going on in your neighborhood. It is really cool to hear a bit more about what's happening in Golden Triangle. And then I think maybe we went a little bit beyond the bounds of exactly what was happening in Golden Triangle to larger issues, but that's good. I think that it's good for us to have conversations, and I am interested in making sure that I hear from everyone in District 10. So if you have additional comments that you don't feel comfortable sharing in a coffee, or you don't feel comfortable sharing in a live stream, you can email, you can call. The contact information should be down there in the corner. I think I'm pointing the right way this time. Also, Chun had their annual membership meeting last night at PSL at Presbyterian St. Luke's, and they handed out Good Neighbor Awards to Chun members who went above and beyond in the greater Capitol Hill community. They also issued 7 SEED awards, and of course we all know what SEED is, so I'm not going to tell you what the acronym is. It might also partly be because I don't know what SEED is, but it's more I'm quizzing you. That's what it is. And so the awards were to 7 community serving organizations, including the Friends of Maury Middle School PTO, the Blue Bench, Historic Denver, Warren Village, Harm Reduction Action Center, Spirit of the Sun, and the Denver Turnverein. Did I say that right? So, yeah. So, I'm going to have to remember. There's trivia about what that Turnverein, what that means, and I forget what it is right now. So maybe we'll have to save it for next Friday rather than Googling it and wasting everyone's time. So anyway, I want to congratulate everyone for the SEED Awards. Thank you for serving our community. We also had the annual meeting had a short presentation on the plans for the Tiers McFarland House. So if you want to learn more about the plans, please contact Chun. And they have officially submitted their application. So if you have heard more about the plans and you have thoughts about where they're going, and let us know too. We'd be curious to hear. So a little bit about what we heard from you this week. We heard about the landscaping in Cherry Creek East. The neighbors, the developer, and the city worked together to finally come to a resolution. That resolution was more than 2 years in the making. I am so sorry that it took that long. We haven't been here for 2 years. We've only been here for a little bit less than 6 months, so we can't take all the blame for the long lag time, but we're going to take the credit for the resolution. Certainly, that was one of the things that we picked up as soon as we took office in July, and we've been working on that. So I'm so glad that we have a resolution finally for the Cherry Creek East landscaping. We also had an ECAP volunteer training happy hour in Cap Hill on Wednesday. We heard that the document's intimidating, that it can be difficult to wrap our minds around a massive planning document and recommendations for the next 20 years. We heard that a lot of constituents still don't know about the plan. We heard that people who have been commenting on the plan haven't read the plan. It's a little frustrating. We've heard that the values reflected in the plan are positive and in line with the residents' values, at least for some of those who attended the happy hour training. So the basic idea, which I mentioned earlier, is we want to know what you want the neighborhood to look like. And that could be, can we fit more people? Can we fit more cars? Can we fit more bikes? How do we get around our neighborhoods? How do we want our neighborhoods to look? So again, we're really interested in hearing your thoughts and feedback. It is a really important time for us to provide the direction for not only our city, but specifically where we live in District 10. Upcoming events. We're planning several other constituent drop-in events for January. So we had Metropolis this morning. We've got the next one in this month is January 15th, 10 to noon at Fluid in Uptown, not the downtown location. And the week after that is January 23rd, 10 to noon at Olive and Finch in Cherry Creek. And we also, which is not on this list, so I'm not sure exactly when, I think it's the 30th. We have an evening event, so happy hour, 5 to 7 p.m. And I want to say it's Bang Up to the Elephant in Cap Hill. So we're definitely trying to rotate not only the location with the various neighborhoods, but also the time. So if you work business hours, then it's hard to get to a place on Fridays, or if you work Monday through Thursday, or Fridays through Sundays. So we're trying to vary the time, the day of the week, and we want to make sure, and the neighborhoods, so that we can hear from everyone. And the last thing I would say is, we want to hear from you, and we'd love to present to your HOA, to your apartment community. It's not political. It's talking about what is important to you, and how we can make Denver a better place. So Chris Hinds, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and let's stay in touch.